Kelly Alston, your e-learning strategist who is passionate about helping you master the art of teaching online. And in this mini workshop, we're going to be talking about infusing group activities in your online college course. Now, my passion derives from 16 years of designing courses and teaching courses for an early childhood education program in North Carolina. And I have designed 9 courses. That's right, 9 courses, and taught those courses since 2004. I have taught 16-week semester courses. I have taught 5-week summer courses. I've taught 4-week summer courses. And I've taught asynchronous and synchronous courses. So I've learned a little bit about the online learner, but most importantly, I went from hating teaching online to loving teaching online, and I want you to love it too. So stick with me through this mini workshop, and hopefully I will be able to convince you to infuse group activities in your online college courses. All right, so this workshop is for you if you long to simulate the engaging group experiences that you can so easily facilitate in the face-to-face learning environment. So you know what to do when you're face-to-face, your courses are engaging, your activities are out of this world, your students enjoy themselves, the projects are exciting, all of that. But you just haven't figured out how to do that in the digital space. All right, this mini workshop is for you if you desire to create meaningful learning experiences that allow your students to delve deeply into course content. And it is for you if you understand how important collaboration is, but you just haven't found an engaging or satisfying way to include it in your course design. And this workshop or mini workshop is also for you if you just miss hearing your students' voices. All right, so our focus question for today's mini workshop is, why are group activities such an important component of extraordinary online college course design? And you might be wondering, why did I say extraordinary? Because you may be doing it well. You may be teaching courses online well, but you can always take it to the next level. You can always do it better. You can always make it extraordinary. So I want you to think about that, how group activities can make your online course that may already be fantabulous, make it extraordinary. All right, we're going to focus on 3 areas. The first area that we're going to focus on is myths. Okay, I want to debunk 3 myths that might be going on in your head, or you've heard in academia, all throughout the academy. You've heard things about online courses and group activities and group work. I want to debunk those. I want to get started with that. Then we're going to progress to the foundational concepts that I believe underlie the rationale for infusing those group activities in your online course. And lastly, we're going to talk about some of the benefits for your students for the infusion of these group activities. All right, let's talk about these myths. A myth is a widely held false belief or idea. Let's talk about myth number 1. Myth number 1 states, and I wrote these myself. It's not like there's some little myth code somewhere or some myth report. But these are things that I think that you might be thinking, or things that I've heard through the grapevine. Students enroll in online courses for the convenience. They would not be willing to attend live sessions just to work in groups. All right, fact number 1. Learner satisfaction and engagement are increased when students make social social connections with other students. That fact is saying that we have studies that show that students are more satisfied with their online experience. They are more engaged with their online experience when they can make social connections with the other members of their class. I want to recommend an article to you called A Literature Review of the Factors Influencing E-Learning and Blended Learning in Relation to Learning Outcome, Student Satisfaction, and Engagement. It is one of my favorite articles on earth because the authors were able to compile over 96 studies, and from those 96 studies they focused on half of those and came up with these factors that influence e-learning and blended learning, and how students and how those factors affect student satisfaction with online courses. So I really want to encourage you to get your hands on that article. And I also want to say, I didn't put this on the fact that I have been for the last 13 years teaching at a university where we are allowed to have designated times for our courses. So I have a Monday night course, a Tuesday night course, a Wednesday night course, a Thursday night course, and we have a block of time that is allotted for our courses that our students know that they will have class during that time. And it has been a blessing and has changed the game for me and for my students in so many ways. And initially you would say, well, no, they wouldn't want to be in a program where they had to actually have class. But every single semester, my students tell me how much they learn and how much they got from us actually having class about 10 to 12 of those 16 weeks that they were in class. All right, myth number 2. Everybody knows that people hate group work, period. I would rather avoid unnecessary drama and limit student interactions to discussion boards and peer reviews that do not depend on the participation and cooperation of anyone else. Raise your hand if you have had a bad experience with group work. I had 2 bad experiences with group work when I was an undergraduate student. But guess what? When I went to graduate school the first time, I had awesome experiences with group work. So this is the fact that I want to use to debunk that myth. Most people hate unorganized, unfocused, poorly led group work. That's what they hate. And they hate group work where people don't participate. I should have added that. Facilitating a well-designed, supportive, and purposeful group experience creates an environment where students collaborate, co-create, and communicate well. I'm a living witness to that as a student, and I'm a living witness to that as an instructor. Now, an article that I would recommend that you read is called Celebrating Difference: Best Practices in Culturally Responsive Teaching Online. Get your hands on that article because it lays out ways that you can incorporate, you can infuse, is the word I'm loving to use, group activities in your online college course. And it also talks about some of the pitfalls, pratfalls, the challenges as well, and how you can combat those challenges. So check out that article when you get a chance. All right, myth number 3 is our final myth. Group activities add more work to my heavy load. You feel like I don't want to manage all of that. I don't want to hear complaints. I don't want to deal with all that. I understand. Individual assignments help me manage my time and evaluate students based on their own personal efforts. Okay, well, let's think about this. Dynamic group activities. When I say dynamic, something dynamic is ever growing, ever changing, ever progressing. Okay? I'm not talking about activities that are just thrown together, but dynamic group activities focus on more than one learning outcome, more than one learning objective, which gives students the opportunity to practice several skills at once. So when you lay the foundation and you include group activities in your course over and over again, those students begin to master several learning outcomes and master several learning objectives. Also, time is saved as the group activity serves as formative assessment. And I'm a living witness that the assessment that you do from live group activities supersedes any other type of assessment that you can do, because you can give your students feedback on demand right there, live and in person. You can utilize teachable moments to support them in their learning. So let's read that again. Time is saved as the group activity serves as a formative assessment, reducing the number of individual assignments throughout the course. So based on how you have those group activities set up, you can use those group activities as assignments as opposed to having so many individual assignments in a course. Another fact that I want to share with you is this. Collaboration is the thread that holds companies and organizations together. Consequently, students must be given the opportunity to practice, there's that word again, to practice authentic team building skills so that they might thrive as employees or employers. I want you to sit there and think about how many careers can a person choose that don't require them to deal with other people, that don't require them to collaborate with other people or manage other people or be managed by other people. Think about that. So if we don't give our students the opportunity to practice that, how will they learn it? I would love for you to go to the My Almighty Google and to look up this report by LinkedIn called The Most In-Demand Hard and Soft Skills of 2020. Guess what the third soft skill is that is in demand? It's collaboration. So hopefully I did a good job of debunking those myths that I know you were either thinking or somebody that you know has been thinking or discussing about online courses and group activities. Now, let's talk about these foundational concepts. And by that, I mean main ideas, themes, or even principles on which group work is based. I hope that these concepts give you that strong foundation that they're strong enough to convince you to include group activities in your online course. Now, before we get into that though, I want to say this. There's a paradigm shift going on in distance learning. The premise of distance education in higher education is changing. When online courses were first launched, it was all about convenience. It was all about total self-directedness with very little interaction with other students. But now, since 2010, for the past decade, more and more studies are coming out. Every month, a study's coming out. Every year, a study's coming out that's revealing that online learners have a need for a sense of community. Let's think about that for a minute. Let's just take something like social media. Let's look at Facebook. Have you noticed that Facebook added groups to its platform? Facebook added live streaming to its platform. Why is that? Because people want to feel like they are a part of a community, like they are connecting with individuals. And it's very difficult to do that in just a text-driven format. But when you have live streaming, you can hear my voice and feel my energy and see my mannerisms. And when you have a community and a group of like-minded people who can share ideas and support each other, that changes the game. And so oftentimes in education, instead of being proactive, we are reactive. And many of us may need the research to tell us, what best practices are, and that's absolutely fine. But I want you to know now that the research is supporting the fact that we need more interactive communities in our online courses. So with that being said, let's talk about these foundational concepts. The first one that I want to talk to you about is student-centered learning. And I want you to get your hands on a book called Learning-Centered Teaching by Mary Ellen, I believe her last name is pronounced Weimer. And I love in this book, she talks about college professors, college instructors being changing from being the sage on the stage to being the guide on the side. I think that is so cute because it really explains what we should be doing in our online courses in this 21st century. I want you to think about athletics and think about your favorite sport. Does the coach play the sport with you? No, the coach is on the outside assessing and evaluating what you are doing well. And during practice, the coach is helping you hone those skills. And when it's game time, the coach is still assessing how well you're implementing what you've learned, right? And so then when you get to meet with the coach, you get in the huddle, it's time out. The coach is going to say, hey, okay, you're doing this right. Let's change this. Let's change that. Think about that. Transfer that idea to the online college classroom. You should be doing the same thing in your online college course. This is that paradigm shift. You want your course to be student-centered. You want your students to be involved with their learning while you stand on the sidelines and guide from there. All right. Okay. Active learning. What is active learning? If you were to walk into a face-to-face course in a college classroom and you were to say, let me see, what's the criteria here? If you wanted to find them guilty of participating in active learning, what would you see? You would see them engaged. I use this icon here because it made me think about, lights, camera, action, and SWAC. All right. And then there's activity going forward. There's performance going forth, right? Well, that's what I should see in your face-to-face classroom. When I walk in, I shouldn't see you standing in the front of the room and the students are taking notes. Not in an active learning environment. I should see the students moving about, manipulating the content, engaging in the content, involved in critical thinking, and that they are learning something that they can apply outside of the classroom. Now, active learning shows up in so many different forms. You can do problem solving activities, case studies, and you can do my favorite, which is cooperative learning. If I were to choose an instructional approach that means the most to me, that's changed who I am as an educator, it would be cooperative learning. When you are trained on it and you are trained on it right, and you learn how to implement it well, cooperative learning is an amazing instructional approach that will give you results that no other, and I mean this, and I will stand by this, no other instructional approach can give. Okay? And so I want to share something with you as to kind of, connects all of these. Now, I'm not attacking lectures here. Because there's a time and a place for lectures, and yes, you should have video lectures in your course. But before I get into cooperative learning, I want to go back because I forgot to mention this about lectures. Robert Diamond says, he's the author of a book called Designing and Assessing Courses and Curricula. And he reports that lectures tend to focus on low-level materials with about 90% of all questions based on recall, rote memorization. And even though we know this, we're still finding that 80% of our professors and instructors are using lecture as their primary mode of instruction. And also, Robert Diamond reports that lecture only benefits students with stronger academic profiles and those from higher socioeconomic statuses. So, hear ye, think about that. Now, the lecture also creates dependency. You create dependent learners when your primary form of instruction is, I'm at the front of the room, I'm the subject matter expert. Now soak up all of my knowledge. Take notes, take notes, take notes, take a test, and take more notes. And I'm not trying to be facetious, but I am telling you, your students will learn so much more from cooperative learning, from active learning, from student-centered learning than they will from your lecture. Now, let's talk about cooperative learning. So cooperative learning is that when you have students work in groups and the students are learning because they are teaching their peers. So they learn through explanation, through explaining, and then they're also learning from their peers teaching them. Okay. Now, in order for it to be cooperative learning, there are 5 essential elements. And we used to, PIES, used to think about 4 of them, and we used the acronym PIES to remember it. But now in higher education, we're saying that there are 5 essential elements, and this is what they are: positive interdependence, individual accountability, face-to-face interaction, social skills, and group processing. Okay. And so I'm going to do a whole nother series on cooperative learning in the online college classroom. So I won't go into depth with that, but I do want to say this. It has been found that, and cooperative learning has been researched for higher education in the last 5 to 7 years. So I would encourage you to delve into that and pull up some studies and hear what they say. But I'm going to give you a little summary. This is what you're going to find. Cooperative learning. Students who engage in cooperative learning tend to be more likely to achieve deep learning, higher critical ability, and improved problem-solving skills compared to those in self-paced, independent study that did not incorporate cooperative learning methods. So chew on that for a little while. Isn't that something? All right, the next thing I want to talk to you about, and the final concept, is social activity. Even if you're an introvert, you may find that you are a part of some type of group. Maybe you're a part of a book club. Maybe it's a virtual book club if you don't want to be around people. But you have been a part of some type of group in your life. That is because adults enjoy personal contact with other human beings. Okay, they enjoy a sense of belonging or affiliation. Hence the reason why we have all types of organizations and all types of associations and all types of groups that we can be a part of. And so when there is social activity in an online course, it helps the adult learner to feel like they belong to the group and they're not isolated by the distance learning experience. All right, now we've made it to the end. We're talking about now the benefits. Now I could probably, if you gave me a challenge and said you were going to set the timer for 2 minutes and I had to write all the benefits of group activities, of infusing group activities in my online course, I could do it. I probably would come up with 25 in 2 minutes. That's how powerful I found it to be. But I'm not going to go over 25 in this mini workshop. When I talk about benefits, I'm talking about something that produces good or helpful results or effects or that promotes well-being. So let's get into it. Now, the first benefit that I want you to wrap your head around or grab a hold of forever is that adults want to be competent. Adults enroll in courses because they want to be competent in something. They expect competency as a result of taking a course. It doesn't matter if they're signing up for a course to learn about baking cakes, decorating cakes on Udemy. It doesn't matter if they're taking a mechanics course at a community college. Whatever the course that they're enrolling in, it is because they want to be competent at something. And if you understand that, how important competency is to adult learners, it will change the way you think about the assignments that you've chosen, the activities that you've chosen for your online course. And here's a quote that I want to share with you from Mr. Robert Diamond, or Dr. Robert Diamond, I should say, that I have quoted several times. And that is, becoming more competent for professional or personal reasons is a fundamental need that adults seek to satisfy. Striving to achieve competence is an intrinsic motivation for enrolling and persisting in an educational program. Think about that. It doesn't matter, why the person is enrolled into the course in terms of an extrinsic motivation. For example, I'm taking this course because I want a degree in thus and so, and this is a part of my academic journey. Or I'm taking this course because my job says I need this certification. At the end of the day, intrinsically, the adult wants to be competent. So we've laid that groundwork. So now what? I want you to get a sheet of paper because I'm going to share with you 8 benefits of dynamic group activities. I want to clarify once more. These are not activities that you just throw together as soon as you walk into the classroom. And in a separate video, I'm going to talk to you about the different types of dynamic group activities that I have designed for my courses. Okay, but when you implement dynamic group activities, these benefits are going to show up. Okay, these skills are going to show up. And the first one is leadership. And when I'm talking about leadership skills, I'm talking about strategic thinking. I'm talking about people management, change management, and persuasion and influence. I can tell you that even the most bashful students who take online courses, maybe perhaps they took them because they don't want to be around people on campus, they will take my synchronous courses and participate in group activities and begin to bloom. They will become leaders. It doesn't matter if they're the timekeeper, the reporter, they might be the project manager. It just depends on what the group activity is. Over time, their confidence begins to develop and they become leaders. Communication. When you infuse group activities in your course, your students are going to improve their speaking skills. They're going to improve their non-verbal communication. They're also going to improve their listening skills. Problem solving and decision making based on whatever type of group activity that you choose. There's no way that your students will not become better problem solvers, and there's no way that they won't become better at making decisions. I can recall just 2 weeks ago, my students were working on a thematic unit together, and I had to remind one group, I was like, you have to set specific dates, specific deadlines for particular things to be due. So in this course, they worked together live, but they also had to work on things outside of class as well. All of my group activities are not set up that way, but this particular one was. And so they were struggling with, well, when would you like for this to be due? That matter to me. That matter to me. That doesn't matter to me cannot be measured. So they learn how to make decisions the more and more that they participate in group activities. Higher order thinking skills. I'm talking about analysis. I'm talking about assessment, evaluation, and creation. They are able to become more creative when they work with people in groups. One of my most favorite books, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, speaks of mastermind groups and how we're just so much better when we bring minds together and we bounce ideas off of each other. Our higher order thinking skills develop by us being a part of a group. Higher achievement. Studies particularly show that when you incorporate cooperative learning in your courses, whether you're on land or sea or online, that your students that normally have low performance in courses, that they rise to the top. Why do they have higher achievement when you have groups? Because you have an array of abilities, you have diverse personalities, diverse abilities, and the students can learn from each other. For example, I might have students in my early childhood education courses who have worked in child care facilities for 15, 20 years, but they have never gotten a degree from college, and they decide to go get a bachelor's degree. They're in class with an 18, 19, 20-year-old who's never taught children a day in their lives. They get to benefit from learning and hearing about the experiences of that veteran caregiver. Okay. And then that older student who may not be technologically savvy gets to benefit from this young student who grew up with a computer in his or her mouth, who grew up with social media, who knows his or her way around a PowerPoint, a keynote presentation, okay, and various other kinds of applications. And so everyone's achievement is raised to a higher level by them participating in group activities. Students learn how to negotiate and how to resolve conflict when they participate in groups. I don't need to expound on that, I don't think. Also, students build relationships. They build relationships one-on-one, and they build relationships as a team. And I have learned that there's nothing like that peer-to-peer interaction. Not again to say anything about lectures, but when students learn from other students, work with other students, connect with them, they begin to respect each other, they respect each other's abilities, and they build relationships. I know students of mine that have graduated from our university that took multiple courses from under my facilitation who are very good friends to this day. They don't even live in the same state. Okay. Not to say, well, I shouldn't say the same state. Most of my students live in the same state. We have a few out-of-state students, but they don't even live in the same city. Let me say that. Also, I have students that they enjoy. As a matter of fact, one of my courses this semester, the students were like, I think we're all taking, reading and research next semester. I think we're all taking another course that I teach next semester. I hope we get to be in the same group, because they become so close and the synergy is unreal. This happens only when you infuse group activities. And lastly, quality instructor contact. Research is revealing to us it doesn't matter the amount of times, the quantity of your feedback. It is the quality that matters to your students. And when you have live group sessions, you can give that feedback right away. You can give that feedback. You can take advantage of those teachable moments where you see they're going down the wrong path, or you just need to redirect them. Or just like I was talking about those students who couldn't come up with a deadline, and you say, hey, wait, when you work with people, you need to come up with a deadline. Just the little things like that that show them that you care about them, that's going to go with them beyond your virtual walls. So I hope that I have given you enough that's going to make you consider infusing group activities in your online college course. If you can't tell, I am extremely passionate about it. And so in review, I tried to debunk 3 myths about infusing group activities. I have not been to law school, but I hope I did a good job. I did give you 4 foundational concepts that I hope were convincing enough to get your wheels a turning and to get you to thinking about it and hopefully to do it. And then I gave you 9 benefits, one of them being the importance of competence and how group activities help your students become competent, which is their ultimate goal. Our focus question was, why are group activities such an important component of extraordinary online college course design? The simple answer is because the advantages outweigh any disadvantages that you could come up with. Now, this is a quote that I wrote a couple of years ago, and it says, "My joy is complete when I know that not only has a student evolved as a thinker, but has realized that impactful learning stems from a conscientious commitment to personal discovery within a collective." I believe that it's our responsibility to grow personally every day and discover who we are and become better versions of ourselves every single day. But the reason that we do that is not just for our own personal contentment, but also because we were put here to contribute to our society, contribute to our world, to make a difference in somebody else's life. And I have found that group activities are the fast track to doing that. That students learn about themselves in a collective, and students learn from others. And that's why I wrote that quote. I was inspired. Now, you might be thinking, well, where do I start? I'm going to be honest with you. I created several designs of group activities. When I teach my synchronous courses, I choose one framework or one format for my group activities. And we implement that same, the content may change, but we do the same, the steps are the same week after week. And so that's why my students began to master the content, and that's how all of those different skills are cultivated. Now, but I would encourage you to start with one. Start with one framework, start with one type of group activity, and do it over and over and over again. And the one that I want to share with you is learning through virtual discussion. I have experienced learning through discussion as a graduate student. And then I have modified learning through discussion into something called LTVD, learning through virtual discussion. And I've been implementing that for 13 years in my online courses. It is but one way that I make sure that my students participate in meaningful group activities that lead to competence. And I want to share it with you. So I would encourage you to register for the speed course. And I'm going to teach you 8 steps to student-centered conversations online. You can click on the link in the description box, or you can go to bit.ly/LTVD speed. LTVD speed, but the link will be in the description box. And now I got so excited that I forgot to say to you, until our next mini workshop, I want to encourage you to continue to create dynamic learning experiences, dynamic learning community for our students online. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.